Hello, my friends, and welcome to 7 super short, scary stories from Reddit. Did you have a difficult day? Need a terrifying night to wind you down? Well, then here's a present just for you. Here's 7 super short, scary stories by Reddit authors. There once was a very righteous man, whose pride resided in his gleaming virtue. The Connoisseur he was called. But to his people, Father Matthew. He saw corruption everywhere except what was within, brutally pointing out the flaws in all men, but lacked to see his own sin. He dreamed of the day he would rule in Rome as Pope. Yes, the holiest one. For a mere priest, it's almost impossible. But he knew what had to be done. It would take a miracle. Yes, a miracle. Father Matthew prayed aloud. I'll perform what no pope could ever do, for God is with me, he smugly vowed. So he gathered his flock, his congregation, into the center of the church. The saints looked down at the weak Father Matthew and wept on their silver perch. Today, I, the Connoisseur, will perform the greatest of all miracles seen on earth. And that not even Jesus Christ himself could compare to what my miracle will be worth. The congregation gathered close to see the spectacle, with eyes shining full of hope. With the whisper of my breath, I'll destroy the wicked in this building and begin my journey to Rome as the new father, the Pope. He looked down upon the congregation and exhaled a solemn breath. The innocent and wicked both began to vomit blood and suddenly were crippled by a miserable death. Instead of being on his way to Rome, he was cuffed and on his way to jail. A new title he did receive, not Pope, but the Demon Father of Hell. When asked why he killed them all, he could only laugh and grin. I'm not to blame. God help cast a miracle to cure the church of every last man, woman, and child inside guilty of sin. The judge and jury clearly saw that no miracle had been cast. He had been cooking oleander under the pews, and the poor people had been gassed. This haughty, cruel, appointed man did make one true miracle appear. Before he was put in his cell, like his once pure soul, he disappeared. Explosive thunder like Thor's hammer coming down on the roof shook the walls and Renee's bones as she sat up in bed, holding her knees against her chest like she did when she was a child. She had lived in a small town in Minnesota her entire life, and should have been used to the violent storms that march across the Midwest every spring. But they always seemed to put her on edge, and of course, sleep was impossible. The noise that made her jump this time was her phone. It was after midnight, but the number was local, so she answered it. Hello?
Hi, Renee. It's Ken from next door.
Hey, Ken. So I'm not the only one who can't sleep through all this racket.
Janet could sleep through a nuclear attack, but I jump up if the floor creaks. But say, I'm actually calling for a reason. I'm not the snoopy type, but I get up a couple times at night for the usual reasons, and so I'm up tonight, and I can see that your basement light is on. It's never on this late at night, so I just thought I'd double-check with you about it.
Well, that's a bit unusual, but I did do laundry today, so I probably flipped on the switch and forgot to turn off the lights.
I'm sure it's something simple like that.
I'm going to go down and turn off the light. I hope this doesn't sound weird, but would you stay on the line until I do that?
Of course. You go ahead.
Thanks. I'll give you the all clear. Renee threw on her bathrobe and padded downstairs and through the kitchen with her phone in hand. There was a thin line of yellow light at the bottom of the basement door, and Renee opened it cautiously. She crouched and looked around the room, but everything appeared in order. Wanting to be sure, she descended the stairs and took a quick scan of the large room, then put her phone to the ear. Ken? Yeah, everything is fine. I'm glad to hear that, said Ken, in her other ear. I had finished my spring cleaning, tidying up every nook and cranny of my bedroom. No part of my room remained uncleaned. After such hard work, I decided I should reward myself with a treat from the fridge. I opened the door, and as I stepped out into the brightly lit hallway, I heard the light footsteps of a running child come out of my room. I turned and saw nothing. I cleaned every inch of that place. There was no way a kid was in there. Then a giggle next to my leg. I jumped as I looked down and saw nothing again. It was then I remembered my aunt's warning. I sprinted down the hall to my aunt's room. Her door was closed, but I could hear her humming inside. I knocked in a panic. It was quite suddenly that I realized it wasn't just one giggle I was hearing. I looked down the hall and saw nothing but an empty hallway. I couldn't explain it, but the sounds of playful voices and eager footsteps were definitely approaching. I pressed my back against the door as my aunt took her sweet time answering. If disembodied footsteps weren't enough, it wasn't just the sound of footsteps on carpet. It was the walls, too. Whatever they were getting closer. There's something out there! Please open up! It was then I heard my aunt dash for the door. The door I was leaning on gave way and I stumbled into the room. My aunt dragged me into the room before slamming the door shut. I told you never to turn your back on an open door in this house. I thought it wasn't that big of a deal. Just like a weird aunt quirk or something. That wasn't my rule. It was from the former owner of this house. My aunt and I sat against the door. What sounded like a dozen wet hands pressing again and again against the door were all we heard until morning. Visit the Phantom Ranch, the brochure hollers from the darkness of your pocket. The luxury hotel at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Not far now, your guide calls to you over the roaring of the river. Staring up at the canyon walls, so high, so monumental, entirely blocking out the noonday sun. You feel a sudden, overwhelming heaving, swelling of claustrophobia. Your feet sink downward into the soft earth, while the stratified centuries stretch upward into the white sky. Your breath feels swept away by the river. How many people die in the Grand Canyon every year? You ask, searching your nylon backpack for your canteen. Your mouth is so dry, like the skin of that snake you saw basking in the sun. 10 or 12, she says. Descending is easy, but even experienced hikers misjudge the difficulty of climbing a mile straight up to the top. They die quickly from heat stroke and dehydration. You're still searching your backpack for that canteen. You want to ask for help, but you can't remember your guide's name. She told you her Indian name, and the word was like sand in your teeth, gritty and abrasive. What happens to their bodies, you say? She shrugs, watching you struggle with your pack. Devoured by the sand spirits. Sand spirits? Is that so? You don't wish to offend, but your vicious thirst has put you on edge. Yes, they're quite hungry nowadays with only sagebrush and sunshine to eat. They miss the years when my ancestors brought them meat and ceremonial cornmeal. But I hear they've since developed a taste for soft-skinned, warm-blooded foreigners. Like you. She laughs. You laugh politely, and the fierce desert wind scrapes across your tongue. I don't believe in ghosts, you say. Why not? Your guide whispers. Or perhaps a discordant wind sings it, as it whines and wails through the bleached skull half buried in the dust. The river sings. The sun is gone, and you can't remember when you last saw it rise. Your thirst has dissipated, The cool, everlasting night has finally soothed the prickly burn in your throat. You kneel on the stones to make an offering of the last drops from your canteen, pouring them into the skeleton's pallid, gaping teeth. It spills onto the red earth, illuminated only by stars whose names you now remember, forming shapes of heroes whose names you can now pronounce. Your own name is ancient and lyrical, and tastes like sweet corn cakes in your mouth. The hotel lies downriver, crumbling and overgrown. Your gaze turns away from its drowned ruin and upwards once again towards the zigzag trail that ascends to your memory of the summer warmth. There are tourists waiting at the canyon's rim, holding shiny metal canteens and crinkling nylon backpacks, waiting for you to guide them into the other world, into a realm of unfamiliar stars and hungering ghosts. You can hear them now. They're calling your name. You go to them. She's dead. Oh God, she's dead. It's all my fault. We shouldn't have gone into those woods. I should have known something was wrong when your dog wouldn't follow us past the tree line. I watched her do it. She cut her body everywhere she could, like red oozing gills. There's something in that forest. Something that ages but does not die. Something made of pure, undiluted hate. It started with a feeling, like the air was unclean. My skin crawled. My hair stood on end. It was like someone was standing behind me. I could almost feel a hand on my shoulder. The wind rustled through the trees, whispering to me. My own voice spoke in my head, telling of horrible lies and unspeakable acts, things I could never imagine. I still hear the whispers. I still feel the hand. I can still remember her laugh. I turned and grabbed her arm, ready to run from this place. As soon as her eyes met, I knew she was dead. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. Her lips moved. I felt her breath on my face. And someone else's voice said my name. I let go of her and I ran away. I dripped as I ran, like the earth itself grabbed my leg. I hit the ground hard. My breath purged from my body as I landed. I looked back at her as I gasped for air. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was just staring, smiling ever so slightly. That's when she started to cut. Long, curved lacerations opened wherever she could reach, like she was a violinist playing a piece. I don't know where she got the knife. I don't know why she wouldn't stop smiling. I just wanted to scream, like she should have, like anyone would, but she just kept smiling. She turned her eyes back to me. It was there that I saw the scream. I got up again, and I ran. I ran away. I thought I would feel better when I left the trees. Why don't I? Something killed her. Something entered her. Why did it let me go? Why not kill me too? And why won't her dog come near me anymore? I glanced at the app, refreshing to get an accurate time. My Uber would be here in 2 minutes, silver sedan. I closed the app and headed downstairs to the parking lot. Slowly cruising through the lot was the silver sedan, and I flagged it down. I figured my driver was unsure of where exactly to park. My complex isn't easy to navigate. I hopped in the back seat and was greeted pleasantly by the driver. As the car left the complex, I became engulfed in my phone, texting to my friends excitedly and letting them know I was on my way. My phone alert chirped that my battery was down to 10%. I should have charged it before I left. Suddenly, it started ringing. I sent it to voicemail as it was an unknown number. Another alert. Voicemail from... I put the phone to my ear to listen. Hi, this is your Uber driver. I'm in the parking lot outside of your building. I just wanted to let you know I'm here, so if you're ready, I'll be out here. I'm in a silver sedan parked in front of the mailboxes. I made eye contact with my driver in the rearview mirror, and he gave me a sinister smile as he continued to drive down the road. I lost my draft deferment. I hid the holographic identification slip in my wallet. Temporarily excused from military service, read the letters on the holographic slip. Below, a barcode indicating that this was the genuine article and not another forged ID. You used to be able to get one of those on the street for $10, but now the government checkpoints can tell the draft deferment card is forged or not. I hid the slip in my wallet, the wallet in the left pocket of my jacket, the jacket that was carelessly misplaced in some station in Washington, D.C. I should be more careful with my stuff. I lost my draft deferment card and I can't apply for another one. This war, the only people who support it are ignorant flag-waving patriots. We didn't invade Nigeria and the Congo to defend our freedoms. When the radical environmentalists launched the cyber attacks in 2061, President King told us that he would bring the terrorists to justice and bring down the ecocentric governments in Africa. It was just a pretext to remove the inconvenient leaders from power and reopen the natural gas, uranium, and copper mines across the continent. Resource corporations put the King's administration in power, and they had their little war, and us young American men and women had to fight it. The military was still an all-volunteer force. There were plenty of American-loving brave patriots who signed up after the November horror, but there was still a draft. With the advances in medical science over the past 30 years, medical teams could quickly perform organ transplants on the battlefield. A soldier got struck by an insurgent anti-exo-armor missile or 3D-imprinted IED. A robotic surgical squad could get there in 2 minutes and do a heart or eye or liver transplant in 5 minutes flat, with cryogenically frozen organs shipped all the way to Africa. They had all the soldiers they needed, and the technology to heal them. They just needed organs. Hence the medical draft, and the healthy organs of the young are especially in demand. I haven't left my apartment in 3 days. There's a government checkpoint down the road. As soon as I get there, they'll see I don't have a deferment card, and they'll strap me down and remove whatever organs the patriots in Africa need. I lost my draft deferment card, and I heard my eye type is in high demand by the military. That's all the time I have for today, my friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening. I'm Amori. Now, listen to the spooky tunes. to test the mic, make sure my microphone works. Time to test the mic, 'cause I gotta check and make sure that it works, that it doesn't sound like crap, so people unsubscribe and all that stuff that I don't really care about that much. Whew. Alright, I'm done. Visit Scenic Phantom Ranch. The brochure holler, ain't no holler back, girl.